did start a little bit late, but as usual, we want to make sure we get out on time. We stay at 12:30. We actually may get out a little before that. But the beautiful thing is we have a number of new faces in here today. If you've never been to a District 1 monthly meeting, raise your hand, please. Oh, awesome. Give them a round of applause. And we always got to show love to the folks who've been here before, so if you've been here before, raise your hand. Give them a round of applause. D1. A lot of things have changed. A lot of things have happened since the last D1 meeting. New people in new positions, new things have occurred in the city of Detroit, and today we just wanted to get an opportunity to provide some of that information to you so that you are caught up to speed. All right? I want to bring up Mr. Archie Woods. You don't go anywhere. You right up at the top. That's right. That's important. Now, this is Archie Woods. Y'all good at Archie Woods? When you make the exact time. He's a man. Now, the question I have, now how many of you have been to this facility before? Raise your hand. Okay. Now, I've got to ask a question, because this is like the big debate in my office. Is it Crowell or Crowell? Right. He's a man. It's Crowell. Crowell. Thank you. I was right. Crowell. All right, Crowell. And so, Archie, if you give us just a brief overview of this location, what's so special about this place? This is, in fact, the only recreational center that we have here in District 1. So we should make sure we do everything we can to promote this place because, as you see, it's not run down. They've done a tremendous job in terms of the programming. And we want Archie to give us just a little bit of information about what goes on here at Crowell Rec Center.
Thank you, sir. How y'all doing this morning? Again, my name is Archie Woods, and I'm the center supervisor here at Crowell. I've been here 11 years, going on 12. I've been with the city department for 31 years. January is going to be my last. Yeah, my son graduated, so he graduated, I'm graduating too. I don't know if you paid attention on the way in, there's a table, and on that table you had some information about the Recreation Center, about all the programs that we offer. We offer programs from A to Z, from kids 6 to 106. So we definitely have programs for seniors, adults, and kids, for ladies, for girls. We have a tremendous boxing program. Right there where that exit sign is, the doors right there lead to the boxing gym. We have an excellent program of boxers, young adults, women as well as men training for boxing. We do arts and crafts and ceramics. We do sewing. We do crocheting. We have a game room. We do ballroom and hustling. We do stepping. We have line dancing. The only thing that we don't have, and you all can talk to the councilman about it, is a swimming pool. We need a swimming pool. There's not a pool in District 1. There's not a pool in this area nowhere. The kids will have to go all the way to Northwest Activity Center or to Evans Bus on Landing and Wyoming. Now, you know you can't expect no kids to walk all the way down there. I mean, Rouge is still far too. That's way down there on the other side of the bridge. So the thing is, we need a pool. So y'all keep that in your mind. The councilman and the mayor, I can't suggest it, so you all have to suggest it that we need a pool. So what we need over here at Crow? A swimming pool. That's right. Also, we do great parties. We rent the building out for all different kind of events. So if you have an event that you would like to rent the building for, we do that. I'm very particular about the gym. And some of the seniors that come up here, they know how I am about this gym floor because right, so it won't get messed up. That's just to keep the integrity of the gym floor for as long as we can. That's the only reason why we do that. So anybody have any questions or anything? Yes, sir.
On that pool, indoors or outdoors?
Indoor. We can make it an indoor-outdoor pool. It don't matter. We just need a swimming pool. Yes, ma'am. Next year, January of next year. I don't know who they're gonna send over.
What was the question?
When was I retiring? Was it this January or next January? It's next January, 2019.
On the cost of the pool, do you have those estimates since city council's budget's coming up?
No, I don't.
Thank you, George. Thank you.
But I'm sure I can get those numbers. That won't be no problem for me to get those numbers. We talking about getting a swimming pool.
Okay, you said you got boxing. What about girl boxing?
Well, we do. We allow ladies to box too. And as a matter of fact, we have over a dozen ladies that train for boxing. And it's not so much a training for boxing, it's the training that they are after. You know, one of the, what I could say is training to be a boxer. That's one of the best trainings that you can get. It's like training for football. You know, it's so physical and it gets you in shape. So a lot of the ladies and the guys too, they don't actually box. They just come for the training. But if they had to, they would know how because they learn how to. But again, it's the training and getting in shape. We also have a phenomenal weight room. It's divided into two halves. One half is cardio and the other half is weights. I see some of my ladies from we have an enhanced fitness class that meets here on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Any ladies here from Enhanced Fitness? Come faithfully every Tuesday and Thursday. We've got about 55 to 60 ladies. Be right here where you are now doing a chair exercise class. Also the stepping, ballroom, and hustle classes. All those classes are free for seniors. We do offer some in the evening time too for a small fee. But the majority of the activities and things in the center are free once you get your center membership.
And some of you may recall a few months ago, we had two young men that were at the District 1 monthly meeting, and both of them were national champions. They were second place in the entire country. They trained right there in that gym, right here in this building. So that's the kind of talent that we have here at this facility.
That fitness class, is it co-ed?
Yes, it is. All the activities in the building are co-ed. We don't discriminate.
Got one last question here.
What's the membership charge? Is it based on ages or?
Yes, it is. It's based on ages. 12 and under is $5 and 13 and over is $10. That's for the whole year.
Archie Wood.
Oh, can you do me a favor again too, please? Please stay on the plastic for me. I appreciate that.
Archie Wood says,
Thank you.
Today's a special day, a very, very special day. We want to give a shout out to a very, very, very special person in our hearts. Daniela Borum, today is her birthday. Daniela, come on out. Working on her birthday. You gotta say happy birthday at least one line. Are you ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Daniela. Happy birthday to you.
I was just going to say thank you guys. Thank you so much. I am 42 years old. Somebody asked me to whisper it, and I said, as long as God keeps giving them to me, I'm going to keep telling you how old I am. But what I wanted to say was, I did gymnastics so many years ago in this very room. So I'm excited to be here and just see how well Crowell is doing. Thank y'all.
So now, let's get to the agenda. It's a little cold outside, a little warmer today than it was in the past. We like that, but we know it's Michigan, and at any given time, it'll come right back. But even in the summertime, it's a challenge for many homes, whether you're talking about an older home or even a newer home with all these gaps that you have in trying to be energy efficient. So today, we wanted to make sure we give everyone here a little bit of information on how you can save on your energy bills and just how you can be a better steward to this planet. And so we wanted to bring forward our folks from DWEJ, Ms. Carla King, she's an energy specialist, and Ms. Anita Walker, energy specialist as well. And Kelly as well. Come on down. Give a round of applause. Give a D1 applause now.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Okay, just a little introduction here. Like you said, I'm Anita Walker. This is Carla King and Kelly Sullivan. Okay, just to let you know a little bit about us. DWEJ, which is Detroiters Working for Environmental Justice, is located at 4750 Woodward Avenue in Detroit, Michigan. And what we are is Michigan First and Environmental Justice Organization. And our vision, DWEJ, envisions Detroit as the global model of a vibrant urban center where all thrive in environmental, economic, and social health. Our mission, DWEJ, champions local and national collaboration to advance environmental justice and sustainable redevelopment. We foster clean, healthy, and safe communities through innovative policy, education, and workforce initiatives. What we have is we partnership with DTE Energy through their EEAP program, which is Energy Efficiency Assistance Program. And we help you reduce your energy bill, so you can lower your energy bill, you save on energy, and you also save money. So we're just going to go over a few things that involve the EEAP program.
Good morning, everyone. For the EEAP program, I just want to give you a little information about what we offer. Okay, what services are offered. We have the LED light bulb replacement, where we'll come into your home and install new light bulbs throughout your home. That's providing that you qualify, because you do have to qualify for this program. Also, the Energy Star refrigerator replacement program. So that means that you can receive a brand new refrigerator if you qualify. Test and tune of your furnaces. We just started up this quarter. We'll be going to the home and we send a technician in, and he will go in and assess the furnace to see if you qualify for repairs or replacement. How does this benefit you? Direct savings on the cost of your energy bill, lowers carbon footprint, reduces impact on natural environment by energy companies. Eligibility. You must qualify by annual income guidelines. Refrigerator must meet the qualification guidelines, which is the manufacturer's date of the refrigerator needs to be December 2000 or before, so at least about 17, 18 years old. I also want to say that we service the Tri-County area, so that's Wayne County, Oakland County, or Macomb County. Now say that, maybe you say, well, I don't need any of the services. If you know someone, we do accept referrals. Thank you.
Thank you. What is the question? So wait, we'll ask you a question. Okay.
Oh, well, just to add to that, a lot of people don't realize the refrigerator, run 24 hours, 7 days a week, all year long. So that is the most energy, appliances that you use in your household. That's the only appliance around 24 hours, 7 days a week. So by replacing that, because we find out that anything December 2000, anytime earlier than that, that's how you qualify automatically for the program. And it is free to DTE Energy Electric customers. As long as you're a DTE Energy customer and you have electric, you qualify for the LEDs and refrigerator replacement. Now for the furnace, you have to be DTE Energy Electric and gas, and a homeowner for the furnace. And then we also do apartments. We replace the light bulbs, lamps, porch light, side lights, floodlights. We got the candelabras. So what we do, we set up an appointment with you, and then the technicians come out to your home. You may see one of us. We go out in the field too. And like I said, the bulbs, we have some examples over there. They doesn't pertain to gas. The CFLs, which is like the curly ones, everyone calls the swirly or the curly one. And then we got the regular bulbs, which is the incandescent bulbs, which everybody uses. They pull so much energy. The ones we replace doesn't pertain to gas, that mercury that's in there. They last anywhere from 3 to 25 years. Yeah, I know customers we done had, they said they had theirs for 10 years. So it will benefit you. Hopefully you qualify, and not only by, you can be on fixed income. They receive Social Security, you receive a bridge card, so or if you work, it is a guideline that you receive annually. So mostly everyone we encounter qualify.
And I just wanted to add, because we had an incident where we had to replace a furnace on an emergency basis, and there was a small cost to the homeowner because of the equipment that the technician had to use to go into the house to remove the furnace. So there are incidents where we may have some minor costs as it pertains to the test and tune of furnaces.
Does anyone have any questions at this time?
Yes. So the question I have is how do Detroiters participate in this program? How frequent? How often? What are the numbers? What do we look like? Because I mean, we're hearing about, how many have heard about the program before? Just kind of on your periphery. All right, so we've heard about it. I've heard about it and I haven't even participated. Okay? So how robust is the participation in the city of Detroit?
So actually, our program has been partnered with DTE since about May of 2017. And in that time frame, from May until this past December, we've actually serviced over 450 Tri-County area residents. And we're actually realizing that these numbers are climbing at an increment because you guys are spreading the word. And the people of you, those of you who raised your hand, you've already mentioned that somebody either mentioned it to you or you saw something posted somewhere, and we're still getting calls on a continuous basis. So what we would do is we would schedule an appointment with you. You would have to either call our office, or you would be able to talk to us today. We can get your information and we can start preparing to set up that process for you. And from there, we would get the information needed, and then we would run you through a process to make sure that you are a current DTE member in good standing. And then we would go ahead and place you on our list for an actual appointment for us all to come out and check on your light bulbs. Any other questions?
In regards to the furnace, is there a wait list? If I had a friend, I work for DHS, and I have a client who, she has an old furnace, I think a boiler maybe, I think she said. Is there a wait list, or how do you know if you need one this year? What are the chances of getting one for this year?
That's a very good point, because at this time we do not replace boilers. But as far as the wait list, I mean, this is, well, we say what, 2 to 6 weeks? About 2 to 6 weeks. And then we do emergency replacements as well. Yeah, as long as they meet qualifications. But we are not servicing boilers right now.
Your phone number again, please.
Yes, we have a flyer. We have a flyer.
We also have flyers located at the table if you all, we don't have time.
Which table? Okay, we'll make sure we'll hand them out.
Table with the tablecloth.
We don't want people to leave out without it, so we'll make sure we hand it to them.
And also, I would like to add, as far as the refrigerators, they are brand new. Now, they only top freezers, so if we replace your refrigerator, you got a side-by-side or, water or ice maker. It's a nice size. It's 18 cubic foot, and it's about 68 inches and 5/8. So it's a nice size refrigerator, but it comes with just top freezer, the freezer at the top and the refrigerator at the bottom.
Got one over here.
Hi, I have a question. If there is a demonstrated interest in the program, is there an ability to grow? You said that you're not currently servicing boilers. Is there something that the community could do to be able to show that there's an interest in maybe a larger amount in a certain area that would be able to help and make it so you guys could service boilers? Or is it simply just an infrastructure type thing?
That could happen because our program it is growing and it's changing all the time. But that depends on DTE.
Many of us in the room don't qualify for your program, but I want to say I've done the DTE analysis, had them come in, and that's very, very helpful to see where you're wasting energy. And any of us can call and have them come out and do that. And they give you lots of light bulbs too and stuff.
They did a energy audit through the weatherization program, yes. And they do have a program, we can give you that number too, if anyone have never received a kit from DTE, they will give you a kit which would be for the faucet, the shower head, they have the night lights, and it may be about 5 bulbs in there. The thermostat, the programmable thermostat, that's, so I do have the number, you will have to call them and they will send it out.
My question would be, I think I heard you say that you service Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb. Now, in some of those areas, it's not DTE, you have Consumers Energy.
Right.
Is this program still, will it work if you have Consumer Energy?
Yes, like I said, to participate in receiving the light bulbs, and also the refrigerator, you just have to be DTE Electric. You can be Consumer Energy. But if you're interested in the furnace, you have to be DTE Energy and gas. So only for the light bulb replacement and refrigerator, just electric and DTE. You're welcome.
I'm not sure if you answered this before, but if you've used the service once already, is there a time frame that you re-qualify for, or is it a one-time deal?
Well, the DTE is only once that you can receive the service, but I have seen in the past that if you move to a different address or if it's a different account number, then what they go on would be your account number.
Another question here.
Okay, so usually it's about 2 years. We have seen if you haven't received the service in 2 years.
We have a lot of renters in the city of Detroit. Is this available for renters also? How does this work, or just homeowners?
Which program?
The DT and the furnace program that you're offering.
Well, for right now, we're working with homeowners for the renters, for the home testing too, but we will be servicing renters as well. We're just not at this time, but we're going to open it up for renters.
This year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This quarter. This quarter. That's what I wanted to hear. Oh,
Now, how did you guys come about? I mean, that's a pretty audacious title. Detroit is working for environmental justice. How did you guys come about?
Well, we launched it, the EEA program, the Energy Efficient Assistance Program in 2009, and we helped meet state mandatory energy efficient targets. So as a result, DTE EEA program struggled to meet its participant targets. So what they did, they started serving a small fraction of eligible customers to participate in the rates. So DTE just having a problem, reaching all the customers. So they got organizations like us, DWEJ, it's other organizations like, you may have heard of EcoWorks and other organizations that's in partnership with DTE in order to reach all the, the customers. So they just, start.
But in regards to DWEJ specifically, there was a need. I mean, most of you know, if you've been in Southwest Detroit, you'll see all of those chemical plants and see the residuals, and what we don't see is the effects on the environment and our children more often, and even the homes that we build. Most of them are older homes, right? So we live in these older homes that have like these asbestos problems or lead paint, things that haven't been regulated in years.
right? And we're just getting to the point where we have that technology and that understanding of the effects of this. So DWEJ saw that we had a problem, specifically in the city of Detroit, that wasn't getting addressed. And so they decided, a collaborative group of them to come together and address that issue through that.
And one last question here.
You just mentioned about DTE joining with other organizations. Would that also include like Wayne Metro? Are you working with Wayne Metro, or you're just one of the many entities like Wayne Metro that are working as like under the umbrella of DTE?
Well, we're actually one of the contracted groups that works along with DTE, so similar to Wayne Metro or EcoWorks or companies along those lines. So they come to us saying that there's a need in this area, but they weren't able to address it all by themselves. So we're one of those partnerships that they created in order to meet with you all for the moments that they were able to.
And once again, what's that phone number if someone wants to get in touch with?
We do have flyers, but the phone number, if you want to write it down right now, is 313-833-3935. And I just want to make another point about the refrigerator replacement. It's very important to know that in order for you to receive a new refrigerator, you have to turn in an old one. So we'll take your old one and we'll give you a brand new one. But you do have to have a refrigerator to turn in to receive a new one.
Has anybody ever participated in the program? You have any testimonials? Anybody here?
Yes, I received a new refrigerator in 2012. It's a GE, yes. It's a little bit noisy, but it's free.
So yeah, I had a DTE come out the summer before last, and the young man, I got light bulbs, I got a new shower head, I got night lights. He told me what I needed to do in terms of ventilation. But my favorite thing, I have a new programmable thermostat, and I had one before, but I never used it. So I have a new one, and it's wireless. So I would leave the house and go to work and forget to turn my heat off or down, and I could do it from my phone. And so I love that. And the guy said it's about $300 value. But you can't control it from your phone.
Good stuff. Got one last testimony here.
I heard about the program from my nephew, from some of his friends, word of mouth, and I checked it out. I got the papers, helped him fill them out, sent them in, and he got a new refrigerator. It was probably less than a month's time.
So you need to take some of these folks around with you. Presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for DWEJ, Carla King, Anita Walker, and
Also, the telephone numbers listed on the back of you guys' agenda. Here with your resources, just in case you all weren't aware.
Thank you. And you guys want to stick around just in case folks have any additional questions? DWEJ? All right, thank you. All right, here is one of my favorite parts of the D1 monthly meeting, and this is our opportunity to highlight, showcase, and show love to some of our young people in the district. We have had young comedians, we've had dancers, we have music, you know what I mean. What is it? Musicians. Yeah, we have them. And so we always want to make sure that people understand the talent that we have here in the city of Detroit. And I want to bring forward Leah Burr and family, her sister. Come on, family. They can do this by themselves, please. There's two of y'all. One of y'all got it. No pressure. Fight. All right, so what we have here are two young ladies. I need you to talk about your daughters. You need to brag on them. You should brag on them. So what we have here are champions. Champions in the 4x1 relay, right? 4x1 relay. And as you see, they've earned many more medals than that. So I'm going to let Dad say a few things, if you will. There goes down. There she is. We'll let Mom.
Good morning. This past August at the Junior Olympics, Leah came in first place with her relay team in the 4x1 100-meter relay. They actually had the fastest time in the nation. So it was over 2 She also came in 8th place in the 200. So that's given her the title of All-American. She's been running since 2012. We run for PAL, the name of the organization is PAL, and then the track team is Track Life University. Jordan has been running since 5. She's 8 years old now. And 2016, she set a national record in the 60 and the 200 meter dash at EMU University. This past card marking, Leah got all A's on her report card as well.
And also, just to add to it, with Leah's relay team, I believe they were 4th and 5th in the high school league. In the high school league, running against high school kids, they were either 4th or 5th or 4th or 3rd. Yeah, yeah, and they are 13 years old.
I'm sorry. Did you guys talk about the school, what the grades are like? Because that's extremely important. Okay. So what was that again? Because I didn't hear this. Straight A's? Okay. So this is why I asked that question. Because it's one thing to talk about their athletic abilities, but it's another thing to appreciate their wisdom, knowledge, and their academic achievement. So we want to present to Leah. And do we have one for Jordan? Okay, so we'll get one for Jordan as well. Jordan was a surprise. She's a bonus for us today. We don't do it every time. So what we're going to do is we want to make sure we present Leah and Jordan with the award of recognition. Yes, come on in. Here. So you see Carol around here. Hold on, before we take a picture. This is one of our diehard D1 folks. Boy, right? She's all the way in there. Tell us your connection.
These are young ladies that I have adopted. My granddaughter, my youngest granddaughter, runs on the same track team. And I'm just so proud of them all. So I try to support them as much as possible and encourage them. And I'm proud of their parents because I know they have a very, very difficult job and schedule keeping up with these young ladies. But I'm just so proud of all of them. So please keep them in your prayers all the time. They're wonderful young ladies.
They've also been delivering the Tattlers in our neighborhood in North Rosedale Park. They've been delivering for 3 years. Last year they helped plant flowers at the Butterfly Garden on Sahalan. So they're very active in the community.
Active in the community, athletically, and yes. Any questions at all? Great job. We thank you so much for sharing with us and allowing us to show love. Give it again for the Burr family. As I mentioned, there was a lot of stuff that happened since we had our last District 1 monthly meeting. So we have, as you know, more than likely, we had in the past, just 4 years ago, we went into districts and we had elected police commissioners. And so the former police commissioner for District 1, Richard Shelby, decided not to run for re-election. The beautiful thing is we have some very talented people here in District 1 who are able to pick up the baton, no pun intended, and take things to the next level. I want to bring forward our new police commissioner for District 1, Mr. Darrell Brown, former firefighter, an all-around good guy. And look at you, cool, he's silent. Tell a little bit about yourself and why this is important and what you plan on doing in this new and very coveted position.
That's a long statement to have to remember all of that. First of all, I'd just like to thank God for instilling in the hearts and minds of all the voters here in District 1 for having the confidence in electing me in the office. I really appreciate that. Secondly, if we could, I'd just like to have a moment of silence today. We're dealing with some things. We just lost a young firefighter. We're burying him today. He's a victim of an accident of a drunk driver. He was in a coma and he succumbed to the injuries last Saturday. And also a prayer that we could have, or just, and also a moment of silence for Officer Doss, as he's dealing with his injuries and he's still in critical condition. We just have a moment of silence for him. Thank you. So, you know, a little bit about me. I've been in the Northwest Side basically all my life. Lived in the District 1 area in Rosedale Park since 1997. Where I've raised my children, and people seem to think I'm joking when I tell them I have 7 children, and right now I have 23 grandchildren. I know I don't look it, but my wife and I, we got it. I've been married for 28 years, which next month I'll be celebrating my 29th anniversary. But before I get started, I'd like to thank our NPOs, neighborhood police officers standing in the back. If they can stand up. I am retired from the Detroit Fire Department due to an injury, but I'm okay. And I decided to continue to stay involved with city government and in the community in ways that I can help and be effective to improve the quality of life for us in our neighborhood, not only just in our neighborhood, but residents in the city of Detroit, all over. One of the biggest things I'm going to try to really push for is, right now, I don't think our public safety employees are paid enough money. We need to get these salaries up, and also the benefits and everything. We need to start treating them like they're professional athletes, because when they're coming, they're coming. They have to work out, they have to exercise, and a lot of people don't really understand and take into consideration what it takes to become a firefighter or a police officer. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of training. I know when I started with the fire department, I thought I was just going to go in there and learn how to just sprinkle some water on fire, but I didn't realize that there was some science to this stuff. So there's a lot of methods and science and education that go into developing the people that we have on the streets today. And we need to really encourage them and see that they're comfortable and they have salaries where they can provide for their families. Because one of the biggest things that you have is that the time that firefighters and police officers have off is for them to rest, relax, and recover. And we should not have to have them out going to get second jobs to make ends meet for them to send their kids to our colleges and universities. Me, I was fortunate. I had a dual role. I'm also an IBEW electrician. I was an apprentice, a 5-year apprenticeship with IBEW. So I never left the trade. I kept working, married. So I got like 3 salaries coming into my house. I still couldn't get no Pell Grants for my kids to go to U of M and Michigan State. But that's okay, as long as I can contribute by paying my taxes and everything, that someone else's kid could benefit from those opportunities. Another thing that I like to see improved upon is the Green Light District. The cameras are really showing proven results in the reduction of crime in the city of Detroit. And I'm going to start having some conversations with getting them out to like our seniors buildings and some of our neighborhood establishments that's out here, like the Smith Homes. I think we have 2 of them over here. And there's another one that's being brought back over in District 7. And I would like to see that in those areas as well, because those are some concentrations where people are really having some problems. Just like to thank Councilman Tate for having me here today. I know we've been back and forth. He's been trying to get me down here to these meetings, but this fourth Saturday really bangs with some other things that I do, but I'm going to make a commitment to be here. And I'd just like to thank everyone for just, and if you, another thing, the Board of Police Commissioners is going to establish a community advisory board. And if you're interested in it, there are going to be 2 people from each district. And if you're interested in it, see me after this, and I'll give you my email address, and you can send me your letter of interest, and I'll take that into consideration. But right now, just thank you very much for having me, and I'll take any questions or anything like that that you may have.
Any questions for the new commission?
You can pull it off.
Yes, also on Channel 2 about this overtime. They're trying to cut it. Is that true or not?
I think the news misconstrued the chief's words on the overtime. The chief was making a statement that they have to manage the overtime and continue to be good stewards of it. We all know as public safety people that there's no way you can cut out overtime, because we are mandated to work basically a 24-hour shift. And if you ever see a firefighter or a police officer payroll, it's actually for 336 hours every 2 weeks. That means we only make like $3.40 an hour, which guarantees the fact that we're always on duty, and you may have to reactivate people or recall people back to work in the event that there's some people going to court. Just the other day, you know, we had a situation when Officer Doss was injured. That became a barricaded gunman situation. And the good thing about it is that you have the mutual aid for all the other law enforcement agencies to come down and assist to provide backup to cover those areas while our officers are there. And those things take time and they take resources. And I just think that they're not going to cut the overtime because we need it. We're going to have them out here. But to that point, what I would like to see is, they can still work overtime, but we need to hire more officers. And that's one of the biggest points right there.
Hey, what about when they tax that overtime money?
Well, I don't work for the IRS.
You don't get none of that money at the end of the year.
I don't work for the IRS. I don't know how they tax that money, but I know as a victim of working overtime, I've been taxed very heavily.
Got one right here. Excuse me, sir. I know this is your first meeting. I appreciate it, but unless you have the mic, you just answer you, please. Withhold your comments. Thank you.
I just had a question about the 2 people that you're looking for volunteers for each district. What is it that they would be doing?
You would be assisting the commissioner in that district with, and also working with the neighborhood police officers to be another set of eyes and ears where, you know, I can't be everywhere. And so that's why they came up with another board to assist the commissioners and the NPOs in the district. So it'll be 2 people from each district that they're considering creating this board for. And we'll give you an outline of what you can and cannot do. And while you're on that subject, the police officers chaplain unit is also looking for volunteers. If you know anyone that's a pastor or interested in becoming a chaplain for the Detroit Police Department or the Fire Department, see me and I'll get that information to you and I'll turn it over.
And I know you indicated that folks want to get in touch with you. You would provide them your email. But the good news is we have it in your packet, the information. So we want to make sure that if folks are interested in this particular position, you have an opportunity. We've got time for one more question. Last one.
Hi, Commissioner. I just wanted to know if you would elaborate a little bit about your job description.
So the Board of Police Commissioners was created in 1974 by the Honorable Coleman A. Young. What we do is provide citizen oversight and control over the police department in conjunction with working with the chief and the mayor. But we are the people that decide and make and audit their policy, the citizen complaints, budget, and all of those things. And you can thank a young man that's going to come up next for that purpose and that piece in the charter to make that change, to have individuals and not just police officers that can be elected to the Board of Police Commissioners. Because at first it was appointed and most of those guys were officers, but now ordinary citizens can run for this position and be a part of the Board of Police Commissioners to provide that citizen oversight for the police department, which is very important.
Commissioner, thank you for coming. And we look forward to it. Anytime you have anything to present, the floor is yours.
All right.
Every fourth Saturday of the month.
All right.
Y'all give it up for Commissioner Brown. All right. So as I mentioned that, there's a lot of things that happened since our last meeting. We have, before we go into that, what I like to do is introduce Stephanie Young. Stephanie Young, our district manager. Yeah. So the beautiful thing about District 1, this doesn't happen everywhere. District 1, we have both the administration and the legislative branch and the executive branch really, truly, honestly working together. We've had a long relationship that spanned administration. So that helps tremendously. As you know, Stephanie Young is our district manager, and Reggie Reg was the deputy district manager. Was. If you've been paying attention, you'll see what his new title is. We'll get to that in a minute. But we want to introduce the new deputy district manager of District 1, Ms. Latrice McClendon. Come on up. Latrice, you want to say a couple words to me? Welcome to the mic. When did you start?
Okay, so I started Monday. So I'm actually very new to this position. I want to say thank you for welcoming me. I live in District 1 in North Rosedale Park, and my family and I have been there for 3 years, but I'm also born and raised in Northwest Detroit, BPS graduate, and I'm just happy to serve with Stephanie and serve you guys and keeping our community civilized. No, what school? What high school is it? What high school is it? Yes. One high Cass
Yeah, we take the mic. So you'll be seeing a lot of Latrice around the neighborhood. So when you get a phone call from her, when you see her, make sure you take that phone call because she has tremendous resources and she's brilliant. I've worked with her closely and appreciate all that you have done and continue to do with the community. So shout out to Latrice and Stephanie Young. Give it up one time. Coming up next is our brand new Wayne County Commissioner for the 6th District, Commissioner Reggie Davis. You're good, don't you? Reggie got a commissioner out here with a t-shirt. Look at looking good, man. Fred, we appreciate you coming by. You showed up at the satellite hours. And we had a lot of good, great feedback and communication. We've known you in different avenues as the radio guy. We've known you as the charter commission guy who fought for the rights of the small person, the smaller folks who a lot of people really didn't take consideration to. We've known you as the district manager as well. Here's a transition now as a legislator. One thing to pass on that information that the executive branch wants is another thing now. You're in charge, and that's what I love about being in charge, because you do your own thing, but with the community's input. So tell us a little bit about what you plan on doing as the commission.
Yes, sir.
You can take this one out once we finish. Okay. I know we're going to have questions.
Yeah, first off, I can't start without saying everybody put your hands together for the greatest council person in the city of Detroit, James Day. I say it all the time, we get lovely sometimes, that really is. I'm not just saying that. I lived all over the city, and that guy's something else, okay? So I just want to say, thank you. First off, Stephanie Young. Let's put our hands together again for her. It was awesome working with Stephanie Young. Thanks to Mayor Mike Duggan for believing in me and appointing me to the position of a deputy city manager, district manager, to work with Stephanie. And then there's another individual, because when you talk about a team, that's what this is all about. When you talk about Northwest Detroit having the best city council person, the best district manager, the best of everything we do, you've got to think about one individual person who really, through God, made all this happen for me and my team. And he goes by the name of Burton Leland. And we must put our hands together for that brother. So Burton is undergoing a lot right now. He's ill, you've heard about it, and it's really taken a toll on him and his family. So please pray for Burton Leland, his wife, and his two sons, okay? Please do that for me, all right? Burton is a dynamic person, and he was a part of this team. So when we talk about team, brother councilman, team is what it's all about. This ain't about me. I'm not up here selling myself to you. Please don't get it twisted, everybody. This is all about the team that God has assembled for me, for you. And I'd like to right now bring up my team, representing Northwest Detroit, Wayne County Commission, District 6. I wish we could change it back to District 1, but I'm District 6 now, everybody. I'd like for you guys to welcome two of my staff. First off, a young lady who's from the community of O'Hara Park. She has a degree in political science. She's also an educator, well-versed in community organization. She is my legislative aide. Everybody, come on up here. Here she is, Yelena Ramatar. That's her right there. Love her name, beautiful name, special name. Your very unique name. Yelena Ramatar. Appreciate you. Thank you for all you do. And now my chief of staff. Here is a brother that I've known for quite some time and for many, many moons, especially since the loss of my kid brother who was assassinated, Vito Davis, in 2001. He and I worked together with a nonprofit called the Ceasefire Youth Initiative. We go to schools and talk to young boys about the dangers of guns. We mentor boys. And this is just an awesome individual. He's educated himself. You can sit down with him and you can talk about the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, the encyclopedia, the dictionary, whatever. He knows it all like the back of his hand. Very well endowed in education. This brother, like the saying goes, close association brings on similarity. I hang out not with crackheads every day, because if I hang out with crackheads for 21 days, on the 22nd day, I would more than likely become a crackhead. Instead, I like to hang out with brothers like my new chief of staff. And everybody, please put your hands together for my chief of staff, Brother Machete Muhammad. And I'm not going to be long, because I don't like to talk a lot. I like to keep it short and do the work. I like to leave room for a whole lot of work. So let me just say real quick. The main thing I'm here, Brother Councilman, is to talk about Stephanie Young, is to talk about what it is I once did and what I was responsible for you, and what I am now responsible for. So when you talk about the charter, which I don't talk about a lot, but it was very important. The police commission was something that I really pushed so that you guys, the citizens, can have oversight of our police department. And that was a beautiful piece of work. But there's something else that we must understand, and that is that when you have a team of people that represent you, you must be with them and fall in line with them. So what I want to talk about is before, when your tree fell down, when your lights are out, when you had illegal dumping in the backyard, or you had abandoned buildings or homes, you had squatters, we had to call our NPOs and so on and thus forth. That particular area is not really for me. If you call me, I'm gonna do everything I can to get you with the right person, Stephanie, or maybe I call John George, we can come out with some trucks and help you. Whatever it is, I want to help you. Don't get it wrong. But my primary responsibility to you as your Wayne County Commissioner, there's two things that I want to focus on. And that's roads and health, with an emphasis on mental health. And let's start there. Mental health to me is everything. When you look at the news and you see an incident where a police officer was shot in the head, the police officer goes to the hospital, he's in intensive care, he's doing bad. And then you look at the person who shot the police officer. It's a young man who is trapped in this ideal of mental illness. And we talk about it being a stigma, and people don't want to talk about it. Very soon, I'm going to start to explain to you all about my dealings and my understanding about my own personal mental illness as it relates to accidents, head injury. I want to start to share that with everybody. I want to come to you one-on-one, me and my team, and begin to break down mental illness. The Wayne County Mental Health Association Authority, should I say, has programs. They have money and resources. I, as your commissioner, it is my duty to go to those meetings and talk about, in my district, Northwest Detroit, why we need more funds allocated towards mental illness, towards putting together programs to help, especially our young people, really everybody, but especially our young people, to deal with this idea, yeah, I have a mental illness. What is mental illness? When you think about mental illness, people think, oh, he's Looney Tunes, he's crazy. No, I have anxiety, major issues with anxiety. People go through depression. Those are forms of mental illness. Young people are affected with something we call post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. When you hear that, you say, oh, he went to war, he came back, okay, he's got PTSD, let's help him out. Okay, that's fine. But we have young people in the city of Detroit, on our blocks, in the heart of the city, who are faced with PTSD because they go home and their mom is the only parent. They have no father figure, much less a father. And they open the refrigerator up, it looks right back at them. We say, go to school, do good, go to college. They want to, they can. But then they walk outside the door and they see blight everywhere before they get to the bus stop. And they never get to across 8 Mile many times, or much less out of to another country. So post-traumatic stress disorder is a form of mental illness. So this is something that you bet that your commissioner, myself, Reggie Davis, I will be on the forefront of breaking down how we can take that $1.5 billion every year that the county gets and take more of it to allocate towards mental illness, okay? So that's one. And then the other is the roads, and I'll stop after this, dear council. I like to talk, I mean that. The roads. Roads are everything. As a matter of fact, we're going to hand out some paperwork that we have for you guys talking about potholes and the county and how it is that you can call a number if you see a pothole. We can take county dollars to fix those for you. We'll talk about that. At the same time, I can tell you about a millage, a park millage. Some of you remember, I have $50,000 right now in the kitty that I can use however I want as far as parks in my area. By the way, District 8, in case you guys don't know, it's 8 Mile North, 5 Points Telegraph West. You've got Finco, Grand River South, and Myers on the east. If you are in that rectangle, then you are in District 8, my district. 6. So, I'm sorry, 6. Thank you very much. See, thank you. I said it before I started. Charge it to the head, not the heart. Okay, so District 6. Thank you. So, that if you're in that area, then it is my duty to represent you, and I want to do that. So I'm going to stop now, but we're starting to make our rounds and do house visits and come to your meetings and talk to you more in detail about the things that we want to do for you. And I think that's it. We talked about the parks, potholes, we talked about the roads and the health, and so that's pretty much the main thing I want to do for you guys. There's other things, but that's our focus for everything that I want to do. You have any questions? Got questions? There we go. Okay. Hey, congratulations, first of all, Reg. Thank you, Brother Doug. And I'm into affordable housing, and we have a lot of battered women who come into our housing. And a lot of these battered women, a lot of them don't even know it, but they're suffering from PTSD. Yes. Are you planning on addressing that? Absolutely. Now that you said that, that's a great part. You need to be, when we start our meetings on this, make sure that you're there or bring some representatives towards that idea. I definitely want to include that. Don't want to leave anybody out. Don't want to be real.
Oh, Mr. Davis, how are you today?
Good day to you. How are you, sister?
Monday. You remember me?
Yes, it's Monday.
Mr. Davis, I'd like to say this quickly. Mr. Davis, I met him through, I called the city about some things in Mayor's office, and he was the first one to step forward to come out to the neighborhood and talk to us in person. My neighbors got together. We didn't plan a meeting. They got together outside. Mr. Davis came out and started walking the block with us. We were trying to figure out how we were going to protect ourselves from these open homes that were left untaken care of, and people were squatting in there, and the sidewalks and the trees. Oh, we had a lot of things to talk about. And he came out several times and helped us to decide what to do with these homes that were vacant and people were squatting in them, or either the landlords wasn't, keeping them up. And also, I'd like to ask this question. We are near, I live off of Otter Drive, near Evergreen, the Evergreen Park. Why do we have so many trees in that area? That's not a park anymore, it's a forest. Why are these people planting so many trees in our neighborhoods?
Well, Ms. Monday, I want to say first, thank you for coming. Stephanie, I did not ask her to come here and pay her to come and say what she said. She's really here on her own. So, as far as the trees, Ms. Monday, this is something that, when I talk about a team and how important a team is, I don't know everything. Okay, I'm a single guy, I'm one person. But as far as a team, we got Stephanie Young, we've got our council person. So to answer that question about the trees, this is something that the mayor says. He says, Reg, Stephanie, if the people of that area feel a certain way, if the majority of consensus of the folk in that area feel a certain way, whatever it is, then we should support that. If you feel that there's a problem there, and then you can gather many of the people around that area that feel the same way, then we must come together and figure out how we can change it for you. I definitely want to address that more in detail with you, okay, about those trees. Thank you, Ms. Monday. I really appreciate you.
Got one last one over here.
Good morning and congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I had a question. We all are definitely aware that mental illness is major, not just here in our city, but it is around in our country as a whole.
Absolutely.
I wanted to know, would there be a partnership with DPS? There are kids as young as elementary school on up that are exhibiting behaviors that are obvious that there's some mental illness. But within our communities, we may not recognize it, and our community might need to be educated on how to address it sooner, because we all know that it does impact the school system trying to educate and also help a child that has some other challenges. So is there going to be a partnership with our DPS?
So I'll say this, and thank you for everything. As far as a policy, there's nothing that I can point to right now that deals specifically with that. But it's up to myself. I'm now your part of the legislative body for Wayne County government. And then you have, of course, James Tate with legislative body government for the city with city council. It is up to us to figure out how we can put together certain documents that represent things that stand for that idea. But what we can do in the meantime, until we get to that policy point, we have nonprofits like the Ceasefire Youth Initiative that can come into the schools and deal directly with these boys, these girls that are affected by mental illness. I would love it. Whatever you're talking about, the school, let us know. I will bring my team on immediately to take care of that with professionals that work with us, Brother Machete and many other people. So yeah, that's something I can deal with right away on my own. And then we have to work together with folk like Councilor James Tate to figure out how to put together policy for that.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen of D1, please give it up for your Wayne County Commissioner of the 6th District, Reggie Rex Davis.
Thank you, Councilman.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. We also have another elected official here in the building. Well, Ms. Sylvia Santana, Representative Sylvia Santana, please come forward. I apologize. Let's see you back there. Now, I know that part of D1 is within your state rep area, so if you can talk to folks.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I am Representative Sylvia Santana from the 9th House District, which encompasses a portion of District 1, the Schoolcraft Improvement Association area, as well as Greenfield, west of there. But I want to say I'm grateful to be here by the grace of God, and it's a new year, 2018, and so much has already happened in the course of the 2018 year. We had our State of the State address with Governor Snyder, came out and spoke on some things that some positive and some not so positive, or some things he didn't even say. Some of the key areas that I thought were beneficial, he talked about education and increasing the per pupil funding, which is something that we've needed to do for a very long time in the state of Michigan. We are behind the 8 ball when it comes to increasing funding for education. Our students are receiving currently $7,400 per pupil. Some municipalities have decided to actually increase their millages. So, but the majority of students receiving $7,400, there's also at-risk funding as well. We really need to be funding education at $10,000 per pupil. And I even state to venture that we need to increase that funding for pre-K education as well if we're going to require our students to be reading by 3rd grade. So those are some of the areas that I thought were beneficial, but they're always a contradictory mechanism that's in place, because although we're saying increase education funding, we're also looking at tax credits and benefits that are reducing the amount of school aid fund in the budget. So that to me is contradictory to the statement that we're putting out there. And so a lot of things don't make sense. And for me, that is one of those things where if a bill comes up in Lansing, if it deals with anything pertaining to the school aid fund, 9 times out of 10, it's a no vote for me, because if we're saying on one end increase, then increase, and make sure that that funding gets to our students and their education. Secondly, the other area that I thought was important, the governor mentioned, was infrastructure. We definitely want to make sure that things that happened in Fraser don't happen again. Right now, there's a couple of projects that MDOT will be working on in the next couple of years, which will be I-75, I-94, redoing that stretch of highway, and also the Gordie Howe Bridge. So those are all areas where we will see those orange cones that we all hate. So just keep that in mind as well. And then the other areas where I thought that the governor missed the ball is Flint. Definitely Flint is still struggling, you guys, and keep those individuals in Flint in your prayers. One of the areas that I think Flint missed the ball on is getting that system back, the water system back online. They waited till after the election, the council people, to make a decision, which is very unfortunate because we're putting the lives of people in stake. So that for me, although now they're on the Great Lakes Water Authority system, we still have people who are drinking bottled water in Flint currently. And so keep them in your prayers and just keep a light on that issue, because it's not something that's going to diminish right at this current moment. We're going to see this issue come up in the legislature for many years to come. Absolutely. So just keep that in mind. The other area I thought the governor could have did better on was the unemployment insurance fraud cases. Some of those people who were impacted by being told that they were committing fraud, some of those individuals lost their houses, some of those individuals had their wages garnished, and the like. And so we have a surplus in our state budget. And if we have a surplus, I believe that those individuals should be made whole. What do you guys think? Absolutely, absolutely. So with that said, we are going into the budget process. We will be hearing from the governor on his recommendations, but as someone who sits on the appropriations and the budget, I sit on corrections, as well as the health and human service budget and the license and regulatory reform budget. So I will be keeping a close eye on pork in the budget, making sure that your tax dollars are being invested the way they should be invested, which is in the people, and also making sure that those dollars get spent wisely. So thank you all for letting me have an opportunity to speak. God bless you, I love you, and I'm looking forward to serving you this year and the years to come. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you. And the floor is also yours, whenever you want. Any for Saturday. All right, thank you. All right, the old saying, new year, new me, right? Yeah. 2018. A lot of us have had resolutions, and then we made another resolution the day after we made that resolution, and then we made another one, and another, and another. A lot of those resolutions are about trying to stay fit, get fit. Either it's to lose weight, to impress somebody, or just to be healthy. So we want to introduce you to a new business in our business spotlight right here in District 1. It is called Fit for Life Fitness Center. Got some fans back there. It just sprouted up not too long ago in District 1 on McNichols, right? And I want to bring Miss Felicia Maxwell up. She's the owner. Y'all give a round of applause, and her team. That was kind of weak, y'all. That was real weak. All right, let's go. So we talk about the fact that we are looking to increase. Look, you see the shirt, right? Discover D1. Look at Aaron's shirt, Discover D1. We want to make sure that we show love to businesses that are in our neighborhood. We talk all the time about what's going on downtown and outside of the city. When we have phenomenal people who have decided to pour their lives into the business in the neighborhood, we got to give a better round of applause and show them more love than that. Anywhere in the city, but they chose our community. All right? So before we give you mic, we want to show a video. Reg?
It's really about how you look at life, how you define your life. If you're enjoying life, how do you cope with life? It's all connected. So if you're spiritually in tune, then you're going to be physically in tune. And I teach my clients it's a lifestyle. Introducing Fit for Life, changing lifestyle. If you're eating right, if you're exercising, living and exercise is proven to extend your life by at least 4 years, at least at a minimum. So it's really about how you look at life, how you define your life. If you're enjoying life, how you cope with life. It's all connected. So if you're spiritually in tune, then you're going to be physically in tune. And I teach my clients it's a lifestyle. Introducing Fit for Life, changing lifestyle. If you're eating right, if you're exercising, you're doing it for a living, and exercise is proven to extend your life by at least 4 years, at least at a minimum. So I look at fitness as from a total, whole person, holistic, and you have to be mentally and emotionally ready to exercise.
You know what? We're having some technical difficulties. We'll go back to the video. We've got you all here in person. So that's even better. So we'll cut the video because we want to make sure that whatever we do, it represents you properly. Felicia Maxwell, ladies and gentlemen, D1.
Thanks for this opportunity. I always like to share my heart about where I'm located in the business, and by sharing my heart and about why I'm located, where I'm located, and why I do what I do, I like to tell my story, and I'm going to be as brief as possible. I was not always fit like this. People look at me and be like, oh, you was always thin, or you was always no. At one point in my life, I was almost 200 pounds. And that was because I had gone through an emotionally, physically, mentally abusive relationship. And so coming out of that relationship, I turned my life back over to God and quit that relationship cold turkey after 11 long years of being abused. And I was on high blood pressure medicine. And so I decided to take my life back, take control. And I started exercising and working out. So when I left that relationship, I looked in the mirror the next day and was like, what happened to me? Where did I go? What happened to me? And so, by the grace of God, I was able to quit that relationship cold turkey, never look back. I joined a gym that very next day, and I started working out every single day. Within a month and a half, I was off of high blood pressure medicine. And, praise God, yeah. And it was because I started working out and eating right. And in order for me to do that, I had to put it in front of my face. And I had to talk myself into being a better me. So the passion I have for fitness is because of what I went through. Health, fitness, and God transformed my life from the inside out. So I had to every day, coming out of that relationship, I am beautiful, I am smart, I am strong, all things are possible with God. I had to keep telling myself that and look in the mirror and say that until it became me. It became who I really, like, I thought, I said it, I thought, and I believed it. So fast forward to now, today, my background is actually in finance. My undergraduate degrees are in finance. I grew up city of Detroit, Wickham and Grand River, DPS, CT, Cass representative. And I decided to get my certification in 2013. I quit to be a stay-at-home mom. And that was tough because I've been working since I was 14. I was raised in a single family household. I've been working since I was 14, so I quit to be a stay-at-home mom. And so I had to keep, for me, because again, I had to keep myself focused on who I was. I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm strong, all things are possible with God. With 2 kids, I became, again, almost depressed. And I started picking up weight again. So I never stopped working out, but I was picking up weight. So I joined the gym. The gym I joined, which is Franklin Athletic Club in Southfield. I was there every day, every morning. They actually asked me to become their first African-American woman fitness instructor. So I decided to get my certifications. At first I thought it was just going to be a hobby because I wanted to learn more about the kinesiology, anatomy, physiology, the background, and okay, how do I bulk up so easy? And people would ask me, okay, your muscles, how do you get like that? It's genetics, and of course working out hard. Anyway, a bunch of stuff behind that. So I decided to work there. Then I got my certification and said, you know what? My friends found out about it. I told some of my best friends, they were like, well, we want your arms too, so can you start teaching us? And I did it in the basement for them for free. I started doing it for free, and they just insisted on paying me. And it got to the point where I outgrew my space because they told their friends told their friends, so I grew organically. And it got to the point where, so that was in 2013, I had to shut it off and cut it down because I ran out of space in my basement. And that was at the end of 2015. And a girlfriend of mine from California sent me an email about the Motor City Match program to apply for grants and things of that nature. She's like, you should really consider doing this because this is you. This is what you're passionate about. And I know it's what I'm truly called to do. I thought I was called to go back into finance, but I'm truly called to help other people transform like I would transform from the inside out, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, because I know how to transform my life. So I decided to, okay, well, she sent me the email. Okay, let me look at the email. And I hadn't looked at it for about 3 or 4 days. And it was like God woke me up in the middle of the night and was like, look at the email. So I opened the email up and I was like, okay, I did this for my clients in Chicago. I know how to prepare projections, sensitivity analysis, industry analysis, marketing analysis. I know the business, so I can do my own business plan. So God gave me, it was like He was writing the business plan for me as I was writing the business plan. So I wrote the business plan, won the Motor City Match Award, back to back to back to back. So I won the Space Award, Technical Assistance Award, and then the $45,000 cash award. When I said all him. So, and fast forward, so I thought I was supposed to be in downtown Detroit. And it was like, I looked at 3 different buildings downtown Detroit. God was like, nope, nope, nope. He was like, you're supposed to be in a neighborhood. And I was right around, like in the area where you grew up. And for me, I'm passionate about helping us. Because I was in the suburb, I was in Livonia, I was in Franklin Athletic Club teaching, and it was like, nope, you're supposed to be in the neighborhood. You're called to be in the neighborhood. So I was sitting in a meeting with one of the Motor City Match individuals that was assigned to me for space. And that particular space didn't even go on the market. He was like, this just popped up right in the area where you were talking about where you want to go. You want to call the landlord? I was like, can we just call him right now? So we called the landlord. The landlord was like, that's exactly the type of person I want in my business. And when we met, I mean, we just hit it off immediately. Christian man, just hit it off immediately. That's what I want in my neighborhood. So, because he's all about helping people as well. So, won that grant. Ended up at 19522 West McNichols, which is where I'm supposed to be. I know I'm called to be there to help us. I love doing it. I'm passionate about it. And we teach transformation from the inside out. So it's not about people look at fitness and think, oh, it's just about exercise. No, it's more than that. It's 80% of what you eat, eating clean. I want people to know, okay, you can get off of high blood pressure medicine. You can reduce and get off of your cholesterol medicine. You can get off of that heart medicine by working out and exercising and eating healthy. And again, I haven't been like this all my life. I grew up eating fried chicken, chitlins, and pig feet, all of that. But in moderation. So with that, I thank you all for this opportunity. I do want to introduce some of the ladies that are on my team that's been with me since I started. So I'm going to introduce Angela first. Angela was my very first, we served at church together, but she was my very first client in my basement. One of the ones like, but I'm going to pay it. And then Lisa was my second client. Come on over, Lisa. So I'm going to let actually Lisa talk first because Lisa was my second client, but she's transformed so much. She is actually the health and wellness coach at Fit for Life on 6 Mile between Evergreen and Outer Drive. So she will give you your free 30-minute consultation once you sign up on what to eat, how to eat, what's best for you. And then my BFF over here since second grade, we both grew up on Wickham, is a client also. And then Miss Elisa actually lives right here on Westmoreland. She's been training with me for over a year in my basement as well. So I'm blessed to be surrounded with wonderful people. So with that, I'm going to let Lisa say a little bit about the eating portion of it and how Fit for Life has helped her.
Felicia has helped me tremendously. I have been into health and nutrition for years just because of my background. I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease. I've seen my grandmother die of Parkinson's. I had another cousin who died of ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. My mom, my dad, everyone in my family has diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, all of these things. And because I didn't want to end up that way, I wanted to make a change. And I just happened to, through my husband, found out about nutrition on television, just watching something, and just became passionate about it. So my heart is to help our neighborhood to learn about nutrition because, like Felicia said, that makes up 80% of it. If you're not eating right, it doesn't matter. But everything is avoidable. All of these things that we have going on in our bodies right now is about lifestyle. It's about nutrition. You can turn diabetes around. My mom is totally off of her diabetes medication just by changing the way she eats. You can lower, you can reduce cancer, all of those things, even with our children, ADHD, ADD, autism, it's nutrition. Most of it is nutrition, so, and it can all be changed. It's not something that you have to live with. You know, it's a matter of changing yourself mentally, of course, but putting these foods down. I mean, we're surrounded by fast food, dollar value menus, because they want us who may not have as much money, you know, to support our families, to go to grocery stores, to buy organic food. It's much easier to go to McDonald's or to churches and buy very cheap food that's killing us. So our passion is to help you to live healthier. So we do offer free support and we're going to have seminars and things to help you.
And those seminars are and will be free. And I just wanted to tell you all the services we offer. So we do have senior chair aerobics every day. We offer a full range of services in classes ranging from low impact cardio, and we show modifications. And we teach modifications. So we low impact cardio all the way up to high impact cardio. We have Pilates, yoga, we have kids kickboxing program. And we range from age all the way from 7 all the way up to my oldest client is 74. So I'm gonna let Angela say something briefly.
Hello. I just wanted to first I want to say thank you to Felicia and her team and all those that she has been a motivation to me and inspiration to me because I started in 2013 when I started with her. I just lost my job and I'm like, I got to lose my weight. My daughter was young and I'm like, I'm running up the stairs, I'm out of breath. I'm only 40, at that time I was what? 40, I'm 45 now. So, at that time I'm like, I can't be out of breath. I have these young kids that I'm watching at church. I need to be an example for my daughter and my family. So with that, I've been working out with her, and I would say, whenever you work out, you have to have discipline and dedication, and that's what Felicia has been all about. And motivate yourself, like she said, I can do all things through Christ that gives me the strength, and that's where I'm at. So with her, I've been able to lose over 30 pounds, and I'm keeping those 30 pounds off.
Don't give me a microphone. Okay, I'm going to just say this quickly. You can do more than you think you can. Yes. I'm going to say the second thing. Being with people who encourage you helps you a lot. I thought I was working out my little 20 minutes watching the TV, watching me do a half or something. Get out. Get out, get amongst the people. And the third thing, the gentleman was talking about mental illness.
sometimes what's going on in our bodies impacts what's going on in our minds and vice versa. We can reverse some of that stuff as well when we get out and move our bodies. I appreciate Felicia. I love her with all my life. School grab in Greenfield. Sorry, okay. Now moving on.
I too love Felicia. I began training with her, like she said, about a year ago. Personal training in her home, in her basement. That was awesome for me. I always wanted to work out, but going to the big gym, I know how to get on the treadmill, maybe the elliptical, but just maybe not really not knowing what to do on the actual weights, and is this too much? Am I doing it right? Am I going right? All those questions. Well, they're good at taking your $10 a month, but not so good at giving you that kind of direction. So that's what I got from her, personal direction. We also did a weekly boot camp a couple times a week before the fitness center opened. And not only did we get encouragement from Felicia, we got encouragement from each other. Angela specifically was a huge encouragement for me. I'm like, that hill, I don't know if I can do that hill. You can do it, you can do it. So you just, not only do you get your own sense of, I can do this, but other people saying to you and encouraging you. And you get relationships through that. I started out because I needed, the doctor said, you know, you need to lose weight, make some changes. That was good, so that's why I started. But what I gained was so much more than that.
We love you guys. Thank you for this opportunity. We are a community and it's all mental. Love you, appreciate you.
All right, so we're running behind in time, but this is our only opportunity to do this because we don't know when we're going to have you here at District 1 monthly meeting again. We got a couple time for a couple questions.
Quick one, what's your cost? There are two, different price ranges for different groups, but the cost is $49.95 a month, unlimited gym use. So you can take any class, use any of the equipment during the hours of operation. We're open Monday through Friday from 8 to 8, Saturday from 8 to 5:30. So you can stay all day with that a monthly unlimited cost, or you have your 3-day-a-week cost, which is $30 a month for that same unlimited use of the gym or classes. But again, you can stay all day.
We have our last question here with Albert.
Yeah, what about people in handicap? Because I remember at a meeting like this, some woman said that she did some exercising. Do you help people in wheelchairs too?
Absolutely, we do. I do senior chair aerobics. I do chair aerobics for handicapped, and then we have a bike specifically for handicapped people. So absolutely, all are welcome and all ages.
And we welcome you to the neighborhood as well.
Thank you.
Fit for Life Fitness Center, Felicia Maxwell and team. Thank you. Buy local, Discover D1, and as a plug, DiscoverD1.com. The only district-wide directory in the city of Detroit, DiscoverD1.com. More than 500 businesses, information located there. You'll find some other really neat things too. And when DeAndre, we're going to give a quick, real brief overview of some of our legislative things that are going on. Let me introduce my team to just for those new people. This is Edwina King. Alan, we have also, no, I messed it all up. We have DeAndre Watson as well. We have, here you go, Aaron Hall. Alexander, and we've got Lisa James, the office manager. We have special projects, Daniela Bourne. They're out there still collecting information. People still coming. Great job. All right, ladies, gentlemen.
Hello, everyone.
Take it off. Take it off. See what it is. Can't take people out.
Everybody. So one Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you so much for attending today. I'm just going to be brief. Legislatively speaking, next month, City Council will deliberate. It will go through its normal budget process. One of the things that's significant about this particular process, for those that are familiar, we've been under FRC, or Financial Review Commission, oversight for the past 3 years. So the important thing about this particular budget is if we as a city can demonstrate that we have balanced our books for 3 consecutive years. This year would be the 3rd fiscal year. The Financial Review Commission will go dormant, and City Council, along with the mayor, will retain more control over the budget. So if you're interested in that information, there's 2 things you can do. If you really are, a books and numbers type of person, of course you can go on the city's website and review all of the documents related to the budget. But in addition to that, if you want to come to the public hearing, that is scheduled for March 5th. I know it was initially, Monday, March 5th at 4 p.m. So right now it's still at 4 p.m. If you're interested, we'll definitely send that information out again. Thank you.
Good morning. Again, my name is DeAndre Watson. I work with Athena and Councilman Tate's office as a policy analyst. I want to start, I know Councilman Tate is out in the hallway, but Councilman Tate was just recently appointed to chair the Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee for City Council, which means that all of the economic development activities in the city come through him first. So congratulations to Councilman Tate on chairing the Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee. And I brought that up because there's a lot of economic development activity happening in the city. And in his role as chair, as steward over those activities, he had the foresight last year to say that economic development activity, 1, belongs in the neighborhoods, and 2, will be coming to the neighborhoods very shortly. So last year, he actually sponsored an ordinance that was adopted on November 21st, which requires what's called a development notification sign. So when you see the construction activity, whether it's downtown or in the neighborhoods, there is an ordinance in place now that requires there to be a sign posted to let you know what development activity is taking place, along with the contact information for the construction company, so you can get in touch with them and let them know if there's excessive noise, or if there's dust, or if there is uncleanness. You can get in touch with those people who are responsible for that development activity. It also gives you a picture or a site rendering or a site plan, so you can see what type of development activity will be coming to your neighborhood. So Councilman Tate sponsored that. That was adopted last year. The other brief update, because I know we have to move on quickly, is of course medical marijuana. And I'm sure you recall that on the November ballot there were 2 initiatives for medical marijuana. One was an initiative to create a new medical marijuana facilities ordinance that would allow all 5 state licenses in the city of Detroit. The other was a companion zoning ordinance that would allow those facilities basically everywhere in the city of Detroit, and it would reduce the spacing requirements that we currently have in place from 1,000 feet down to 500 feet on several occasions. It would modify the drug-free zones to take out provisions that protected daycare centers from being right next door to medical marijuana facilities. Those initiatives were adopted as part of the November election. The facilities ordinance was approved at a rate of 60%, and the zoning ordinance was approved at a rate of close to 59%. However, those ordinances have not been implemented because there was a lawsuit that was filed. And as part of that lawsuit and the litigation that's going on with that lawsuit, everything has stopped. So those ordinances have not taken effect, they are not in place, they are not the law of the land. But as a result, those ordinances also included a repeal of the existing regulations that Councilman Tate sponsored, which were called the Medical Marijuana Caregiver Center regulations. Those regulations, because they would be repealed if these initiatives were put in place, are also stayed. So right now, there are no applications being processed, there are no hearings taking place. We're at a pause while the court works with all parties to come up with a mutual solution to this issue. So where we stand now is that the law department, along with the people who filed suit, and some owners for caregiver centers who are part of the lawsuit and were some of the proponents and sponsors of the ballot initiatives, are in court. There is a February 2nd court date and a subsequent February 16th court date where we hope that some solution comes out of that allows the city to move forward and implement its own ordinance that would look substantially similar to what Councilman Tate initially proposed. But we wanted to give you a brief up to let you know what's going on. If you see any medical marijuana caregiver centers that are operating that shouldn't be. Continue to call BC, continue to call 224-DOPE. Enforcement activity is still going, but you shouldn't see any new facilities opening up. And if you do that, definitely give us a call and give BC and 224-DOPE a call so we can continue to have those issues addressed. But that is all I have for legislative updates.
And you can always call our office as well. Make sure that we know. So thank you, Edwin, and thank you, DeAndre. The reason why we spent the time to talk about the medical marijuana piece is that regardless of how you feel about it, I've said this before, if you like it or don't like it, it's here. It's already been voted on. There's a lot of people making money on it, and most of the people, the great majority of people making money on it are not Detroiters. So it's time to disrupt that system and make sure that if it's going to be here, that Detroiters have an opportunity to thrive within this industry that right now has shown absolutely no ceiling. And we know that this year on the ballot in November, they're more than likely, they're still working on the signatures, but it's close to getting it validated for recreational marijuana. Once again, it's not about should we or should we not. It's here. We've got to identify how do we ensure we protect the neighborhoods, but how do we also ensure that we allow for this industry to not make Detroit just be a host city where you have parasitic individuals making money off of Detroit. Okay? So that's what we're still working. You'll get more information on that as we move forward. So how many of you are CPR certified? Oh, okay, couple folks, used to be. So very important, and the reason why this is important is because there have been many situations where we've heard about, seen about, and some people that I know have been in an emergency situation and they didn't have the immediate help around them. I've been blessed to have some people in my office who have actually saved lives utilizing CPR. And that again brings it to the forefront. I want to bring forward Robert Dunn. He's got a whole bunch of letters after his name. I know MD with the F-A-C. Robert Dunn. He's the medical director with the fire department. So why is CPR training important? So this is a scary thing, right? So when you have someone who is going through an episode, whatever that is, you may be scared to touch it. You know, you're always scared, don't move them, don't do this. How do you know what to do, when to do it, and why is it important?
I think that is one of the things that we want to bring home to everybody, is that for true life-saving intervention, for saving somebody's life who is at risk of dying in front of you, it is the person that is with you that is, what I was saying is that for life-saving interventions, it's the people who are next to you that make the difference. Because it doesn't matter how fast I can get another provider to you to get our new medical first responder fire engines, our new ambulances to you. Because if you think about it, this is why we've been teaching everybody CPR, but it's also why for the last decades we've been teaching everyone about choking, right? Because if you're not saved by the person that's next to you, you're not going to be saved. You can't hold your breath for 4 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it's going to take to get through even a very fast response. You can't do it. You're not going to survive. So we've been trying to emphasize for a long time now, and many of you I saw raise your hands, but we want every single community member to be an emergency responder. We want you to be able to save a choking person. We want you to be able to stop someone from bleeding to death. We want you to be able to do CPR when someone collapses in front of you. I'm just going to tell you a quick story. We're going to go through some quick slides, and then we're going to hopefully teach everybody here who wants to learn or who is not comfortable with their CPR skills how to do hands-only CPR. So there were a few folks who some of you may know some of these people. I actually invited some of them to try and be here today, but it didn't work out for them. But I just want to tell you a story because you've probably seen some of these stories. So Christmas Day, a year ago, gentleman's getting ready, go to his family's house for Christmas. It's just he and his wife at home. They're going to be heading out. He collapses while he's getting dressed. His wife, as you can imagine, is pretty stressed out right then, right? She calls 911. The 911 operator does a heroic job of calming her down and getting the story, and coaches her through doing CPR. She had learned CPR decades before, hadn't practiced, hadn't done it. But when that 911 operator was a calm voice in her ear, she talked her into doing the CPR, and she stayed focused on that CPR. So focused that the 911 operator had to remind her to go unlock the door because the firefighters were pounding on it to come in. And her husband got into the ambulance and was already starting to wake up after being defibrillated by the paramedics. Got to the hospital, got to Sinai Grace Hospital. We have one of the Sinai Grace physicians that's here today helping us out. And was already starting to wake up. He got some acute coronary intervention because he was having a primary heart problem that was causing his heart to not beat right. And he was out of the hospital in a couple days. Yeah, he missed Christmas with his family, but he's here for the other holidays, and he was there for New Year's, and he was home, and he was awake, and he was alive. He's done some press conferences at some of the engine houses, and those of you who've seen that, it's a really powerful story. The thing to tell you, and if you've ever had a family member who's had something like this happen, and I know a lot of CPR survivors now from doing this for a lot of years, the stress isn't on the survivor. Because the last thing that this gentleman remembers was getting dressed, then he's in the hospital, chest is hurting. Man, so why am I so sore? He doesn't remember all that stress and all that terror and all that. It's the family that remembers that, right? So we want everyone to be comfortable, so they're going to be focused on saving that family member. Yeah, not everything that makes people collapse can you save them from, but we know there's a lot more people that can be saved if the person with them recognizes that they've collapsed, they're not breathing right, they're not making any sense, you can't rouse them, they need CPR. And that's why we've been going out into the community for the last couple of years under a whole bunch of different grant programs and support, is to teach people how to do simple hands-only CPR. Because there's nothing to be scared of about CPR, and you don't need a card to do CPR, you don't need anything but a little bit of practice and that will to do it, not to be scared. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, and we've got, for people that are interested, we also have, as part of our program, some training kits that you can go home and you can train your friends and your family, if you're interested in doing that, in how to do CPR. Simple hands-only CPR. So let's take a quick look at this, and then we have a bunch of stations set up over here, and we're going to have everyone who wants to get over there and practice. So, are you advancing the slides there? Thank you. So just talk about what CPR is, right? CPR, and we've learned so much about it. CPR was invented, and the concepts behind it were from back in the 1950s, but we've learned how to do it better. And we've learned from looking at people that actually collapse in the hospital, out of the hospital. It is a technique for restoring the blood circulation. And the reason that we focus on hands-only CPR now is because what we learned is that when you're doing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and just blowing some air you already used into somebody, what's really happening during that period is the circulation stopping. And that extra air that you just breathed out isn't actually doing a whole lot. Yeah, it could be helpful for someone who drowned or had a primary respiratory problem, but for most people who just collapse, we need to keep that blood flowing. Because any of you who have ever seen like one of the pumps like that, some of the parks, or grew up somewhere maybe where there was a farm and you had an old-fashioned pump that you had to pump it a few times before it started flowing water, that's exactly how your heart works. When you're doing that CPR, it has got to have a few pumps before it starts. So every time we stop, we got to do a few pumps to get it started again. So if we want to keep that blood circulating the way it's normally, or at least close to normally circulating, we need to be in there 100, 120 times a minute, not stopping. So that is the whole point, is to keep that blood circulating in your brain and your other organs. We skipped one. There you go. So one of the things I always like to talk about is people talk about heart attack, even the press. And I've certainly met a lot of reporters over the years, and sometimes even in the headlines they get it wrong a little bit. Probably everybody in this room knows someone who's had a heart attack, and I'm sure some people in this room know people that have had cardiac arrest. But a heart attack is like, you got a little pressure in your chest, you're sweaty. Heart attacks usually don't cause people to collapse, And if they do, it's because they're having a cardiac arrest associated with it. But a heart attack is not a cardiac arrest. A cardiac arrest is where your heart stops beating blood to your body, usually because your heart is doing something very abnormal at that time. And cardiac arrests are kill, for the people that have them, especially if there's not a good response, they kill about 95% of the people that have them. A heart attack maybe kills about 5% of people who have them. Most people, our education on heart attacks is if you're having chest pain, sweating, you don't feel well, we want you to go to the hospital, right? We probably all in this room know someone who we were probably telling them to go to the hospital and they didn't really go and get checked out like they should. I certainly have had that experience in my own family at times. So the terminology is just something to be aware of, because sometimes it's wrong, even by smart people in the press. So if someone collapses in front of you, we have a very simple thing that we're trying to find out. Someone collapses and you cannot get them to respond, you should be concerned that they're having a cardiac arrest. Certainly there's other things that cause people to collapse, but one of the things we know is thinking it's not something as bad is one of the things that prevents people from doing CPR. They say, oh, they're just fainted. And they don't really check them out. They don't really activate the system. They don't really think about it. And if someone collapses in front of you and they're not responsive, and they don't seem to be breathing normally, and I talk about normal because a lot of people think, oh, people have to stop breathing. You've taken a fish out of water, right? It makes that little guppy breathing. That's what people do sometimes when they are in the early phase of a cardiac arrest. So they look like they're taking a breath or two, but they're not breathing normally. When that happens, we need to activate the system, call 911, and we need to get ready to do CPR. That's the key, is that person collapsing in front of you, recognizing that that's something bad. There have been some tragic stories. There was a tragic story last summer in Troy, Michigan, of a 19-year-old who collapsed in a park. They thought, oh, he was having a seizure, he fainted, and they just called 911 and waited, and nobody did CPR. And by the time the ambulance got there, that person couldn't be saved. And this was a previously healthy kid who no one knew he had an underlying heart problem. So realize that you really want to focus on that. Sure, some people are going to collapse and you're going to touch them and they're going to wake right up, fine. But if they're not, you need to be thinking that there's something bad going on. In emergency medicine, we're always thinking of the worst case. So I like to try and educate people to think about the worst case because that's not how most people think. Go ahead. Our 911 system here in Detroit has been upgraded over the last couple of years, and we are using a state-of-the-art call-taking system that call taker is asking a few questions, and we call it no, no, go, that if you're not breathing normally and you're not responsive, that 911 operator is going to coach you in CPR. And our goal is for them to start coaching you in CPR within 30 seconds of doing that assessment, after they've be sure where you are and all that. And that's made a big difference. We've already seen an effect on our cardiac arrest survival because of that. So just be aware that even if you're scared, they're going to try and talk you through it. So I think this part's a little bit easier to show you is, so I'll talk loud while I'm standing away from the microphone.
No.
Okay. I'll hold for a second. I might need you a second though, so I'll put it in the car. All right, so we're using a very simple CPR mannequin. They inflate, they're designed to take home, but they've been designed over the years and constantly improved, and they have been shown to be an excellent way to teach CPR. So one of the first things that we want you to do here, I'll hold the microphone for a second, is to think about where you're putting your hands, because that hand position is so important. And to think about where you're putting the person. This is something that my 911 operators always say. They get some pushback because someone's in an easy chair, they're in a bed or something. You got to be on a hard surface for CPR to work. You really do. So you got to drag that person down on the floor. And don't worry, if they bump their head a little bit or something. You got to get them on that floor because And we've coached many a very small person into moving a very large person, because you've got to get that person onto a firm surface. You get the heel of your hand right in the middle of the chest. Everyone, you can feel your breastbone, right? Hard, right there, right? You know, if you go down a little farther, it gets soft. If you go up, it's got a little notch. You just go right in the middle. That's really what we're teaching you these days. You go right in the middle of the hardest, flattest part of your chest, and everybody's is basically in the same place. And for most people, they're putting the heel of the hand there, and then they're lacing their other hand over it. Yeah, lots of folks, maybe they don't use their wrist so well, so they can hold it like this. That's kind of the secondary way. But the idea is, you're not using your arms to do this, you're using your whole body to do CPR. That's why, again, a small person, we've had 12-year-olds do CPR, is that you can, now there's some big 12-year-olds, my kids were giant when they were 12, let me tell you, but you can use your body weight to compress that chest. So I'm going to show you here, but we're really going to have the meat and potatoes of this out there so people can practice and you can see this. So I'm going to put our mannequin on the floor here. And I know everyone probably can't see perfectly. The only thing is that a lot of times the tables get knocked over when we do it, but I can show you at least the hand on the table. So I'm going to put my hand here. I'm going to put my other hand here, and then I'm going to compress down. And for this mannequin, it's designed to kind of teach you how to do it better. If you listen, here, put the microphone down. Right there. And if I'm not doing it quite right, I'm not pushing hard enough, or I'm not pushing quickly enough, then it doesn't click. So it helps to teach you. It helps to practice. So the next most important thing after the hand placement, and getting the person in the right position, is making sure your body is right over the person. And this is something that's much easier to see when you're doing some practice. But you're getting your shoulders, so you are pushing right down by letting your body go down, not by using your arms. Some people are strong enough to do it with their arms. I think some of the folks who were just giving our presentation probably could do it with one arm. But for most folks, you are using your body to do that, or you're going to get very, very tired very, very quickly. The next most important thing is to focus on the speed. When you're on 911, they have a little metronome, so they will coach you in doing it quickly enough. But when you're starting it, you want to be thinking 100, 120 beats per minute. For a long time, the Heart Association has used the Bee Gees song, Staying Alive. If you just think that part of it, that's it. If you do it on that gets you just over 100 beats per minute. Any 100 beats per minute song is great for it. And those of us who do some of this training say that, there's a lot of people that don't know about the Bee Gees or Saturday Night Live or anything anymore. Okay, you're out there teaching high school students. They want to hear something a little more contemporary than that. They're like, what is this stuff? You guys actually listen to this? So, but it's something to keep in mind. Superstitions, you go under superstition, also an excellent song to use. The other thing is, don't stop, right? Hands-only CPR is continuous. You're going to keep doing it until either you get too tired to do it, and hopefully there's someone there to help you, or until help arrives and they can take over. Because that is really the key, is to keep that blood circulating. Because that is what we've learned is the most important thing in predicting whether someone's going to survive to get out of the hospital or not, is how quickly someone who was with them started to do CPR. So that's really one of the key points here. I think we just got a slide or two left, one showing on a picture. So this kit includes an inflatable mannequin, and we actually have them, they come in, I believe, 3 different skin tones, and we have different ones out there. It has a video. It's a very simple video, so you can use that to show other people. We've given out about 600 of these under our program, and on average, people have trained 4 or 5 people with it. Some of them that we've left at community centers and places have trained dozens of people, but it's very simple to use. You can teach almost anyone to use it, and it sounds a little funny, but even at the holidays and people who spend some time with me, I usually have one of these things inflated sitting out on the floor at family events. We do a big family reunion in the summertime like many of you guys do, and we always do a little CPR training there. I mean, literally 5 minutes of practice, let people think about it, and that is going to improve the chance of anyone doing CPR. If you've been exposed to it a few times, gotten a chance to practice, aren't scared of it, and realize, number one, you're not going to hurt anybody with it. Yes, occasionally people's ribs break and things like that, but many of us have had some broken ribs, they just hurt. The idea is that if you're not doing it, they're not going to survive at all. So, and every survivor I've talked to had a sore chest, every single one of them, and it hurt sometimes for 3 or 4 weeks, but it's way better than the alternative, right? You know, I remember always being told that pain is God's way of reminding you that you're alive, and you know, that what could be truer than that sense. The other thing is that there are certainly times when you're not sure. It's better to do CPR if someone is just really, really unconscious or something's happened to them. There's nothing like a few pushes on the chest to wake them up, right? I mean, if they're, you know, we all know people, maybe they've had a few too many, something else, they're in a little bit of a stupor, that CPR will wake them up. So we actually expect at least half the time we're coaching CPR on the phone that it's not actually going to end up being a cardiac arrest, it'll be something else. But again, we would rather have you do it when you're in doubt than not do it and have some of the tragedies that we've seen. So we've got some training set up in there. We've got kneeling pads and stuff, because again, we're really focused on doing this on the floor. We've gotten better kneeling pads over the years because of the feedback I've gotten, because my own knees get sore. But there are a great opportunity to do this, and then we've got kits. We've got a little sign-in for people who are interested in kits, a little information about some of the things we've been doing. I know people got a handout, which I really thank the councilman and his staff for doing, because it makes it a lot easier than everyone trying to figure out what's on the slide. And I'm happy to take a couple of questions, but we'd really like to be moving forward on some opportunity here.
Yes, so we're going to do a demonstration. Before I ask that question, this is one that is always challenging for me. You have another man, I can do that, no problem. I don't have any fear, no issue. But if it's a woman, how do we get over the fear, the internal fear of touching another person in that manner?
So that is a great question, because one of the things that we've learned in some parts of the country is that women often don't get CPR as frequently as men do because of that fear, because of, oh, I'm concerned about touching between the breasts. What else we know is that women are just as likely to suffer cardiac arrest as men, just as likely. And unfortunately, because of that attitude, they're a little bit more likely to die. The other thing we know is that other types of heart problems often present a little differently or a little later in life in women. So we need to just put that aside and focus on saving a life. So yes, there's a little fear in there, but the error of doing nothing in the face of that is much, much worse. And we need to think about that person as a person who needs our help right now. Just like we wouldn't, hopefully stop from, pulling a kid out of the pool who's struggling. We need to have that mindset that every single person in the community is empowered to be a rescuer. And it's one of the things you learn when you're trained as a rescuer, is that you don't make that separation. You're treating all those people as someone who needs help and not anything else.
And one over here before we go in.
I was always taught, because I had to take CPR, that it's way different for kids under 7 or 8 or something, and I worked on an infant resuscitation Annie, and it is quite different. Is there a weight cutoff where you have to be more cautious with more the size of a person than the age? Because, you know, body size differs.
So, in general, you're doing exactly the same CPR once people get to a moderate size, which is, for a lot of kids, about 8 to 10 years old. You're doing very similar CPR, but the point of doing it is exactly the same. And now, we're teaching essentially the same rate, about 120, for all ages. Yes, for the smallest infants, which we're not dealing with today, we do train every mom going home on some infant CPR, because that period of life actually lasts pretty briefly. Yeah, you're doing a single hand or just 2 fingers in the smallest ones, but it's the same rate. For, again, the smallest children, we are still teaching to give a couple of rescue breaths, but many fewer than before, because we still know that the circulation is very important, but we know that especially infants, it's respiratory problems that usually cause them to have a cardiac arrest. So it is a little different, but the vast majority of cardiac arrests are adults. Correct.
So we were going to go in transition, but this is very important, so we want to make sure that the questions that folks have here before you go over there.
Absolutely, I think the questions are important.
My question is regarding the rib cage. I'm just, you were talking about chest, you know, pain, et cetera, et cetera. Is there, I guess, fear of, my fear is damaging the rib cage. I know where, you know, it meets. There's also a bone there that also sometimes gets fractured off, you know, when people are doing CPR for someone. How do you prevent something, you know, like that from happening while you're administering the procedure?
So you will break some ribs in some people. The idea of putting your hand on the sternum, which is hard, the sternum, you're not going to break someone's sternum, the hard breastbone, with CPR. People break those in car accidents and things quite frequently. But CPR is not going to break that. And your rib cage is designed to be flexible, right? That's why you can breathe. So there's actually a joint where the ribs meet the breastbone. There's another joint partway around and another joint in the back. So for many folks, and we look at every single case who survives CPR, and we also look at some of the autopsies of people that don't, is that there are certainly ribs broken in a percentage, 20 to 25% of the cases of CPR. But a broken rib is something that many of us have suffered from. I've had a couple broken ribs from things. It's uncomfortable, but it's not dangerous. Whereas your heart not beating at all, you know, you're going to be dead within 5 minutes. So it is a trade-off. You will break ribs on some people, particularly as we all get older. Those joints, like every joint in our body, get a little stiffer. And we definitely have seen broken ribs in those cases. We have never seen any broken ribs cause anything but pain for people.
Now, here's my question. I think, isn't there some kind of law that protects a Good Samaritan if that takes place? If they're performing the procedure and a rib cracks, is there any protection that Good Samaritan has by law?
Absolutely. Michigan has actually one of the best Good Samaritan laws in the United States. And for anyone who is making a rescue effort for another person, a total stranger, a family member, anyone, and making a good faith effort to save them, they are completely protected from liability, which is something very important. And those of us in the rescue community lobbied for changes in those laws over the years, because we don't want anybody to be afraid to do something that's going to save someone's life. Because doing nothing, they're going to die, right? If you think of someone choking, if you do nothing, they're going to die. Same with CPR, same with acute severe bleeding. It's the person who's next to you that's got to save your life.
So we got time for 2 more questions before we go over to the gentleman.
I'm concerned about dealing with people who are elderly or maybe on breathing machines. You know, what type of technique are you utilizing? So if you're taking care of someone, I've been a caregiver before, and so you're taking care of someone, they stop breathing, you want to be able to administer CPR, and then you're dealing with breathing machines. What kind of care are we giving? How do we be cautious so that we're saving their lives and not further hurting them?
So someone who's on a ventilator, a breathing machine that is at home, and certainly there's a number of patients that use home ventilators now. When their heart stops, your priority is exactly the same, is to keep that blood circulating. You can just leave the breathing machine on. Many people who have family members are trained in how to take it off and how to do something else, including suctioning and using a bag. That's a little bit different case. But if their heart is stopped, if they stopped responding, their priority is exactly the same. If that blood doesn't circulate, none of the other things matter.
Got one here?
Yes, I'm teaching my grandchildren and great-grandchildren how to do CPR. And one of the kids came home and says, well, Grandma, I think you're missing something. The teacher says we have to give them air first. Years ago, they taught you to give them air first.
Yes.
Is that still necessary or just the pumping?
No, so we've been teaching, and the Heart Association for community-based CPR is teaching hands-only CPR, because what they did is about 10 years ago in the state of Arizona, they did an actual experiment, some research, where they had some communities that were trained in hands-only and some in a more previous CPR. And they found a 3-time higher survival rate in the hands-only CPR areas. And that's one of the things that we've learned, to the point where some of our first responder agencies are doing hands-only CPR for the first 2 minutes after their arrival if there was no bystander CPR going on, because that circulation is so important. So it really looks like that circulation is what matters. Again, if you think about it, sometimes what we're teaching in school has to do with a bigger picture. Like, you know, we're worried about kids around the pool and drownings and things like that. That's a very special case, right? Where that blowing some air in might help the lungs get rid of some water and things like that. But for a person who collapses like that, you know, we've all heard of athletes collapsing on a football field or a track or something else. That's a primary heart problem. And that air that you already used up for you actually isn't really offering anything but a pause in the CPR.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go and transition to the other side. But before you do that, got a special announcement from Ms. Felicia Maxwell.
I have free guest passes if anyone is interested, and then I also have business cards. So if you want them, just see me before you leave, or just raise your hand. I'll bring it over real quick.
So you get your workout and then you get your CPR on. So let's transition over to the other side.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, for those who are transitioning to the other portion of the program for the CPR, please exit quietly. We still have a program going on, so please gather your things.
So we're going to hunt straight through. And then another thing is like, so you dial 911, let's say you're on the put it on speaker, and you just start CPR.
Let's get a little more space here.
It's fine, you were doing it about the same. So instead of counting, just get the guys going.
Hey, Jonathan, you should open up your space a little crowd.
You got it.
Right down first. And then think about moving forward so your body's directly over.
If you want to try it, and you don't want to listen to
about her. Think about getting your. Think about getting that hair flying over there. No, seriously, like a little harder, a little faster. No, go up and down. You yell that all the way up too. Okay, so she's going a little quicker, a little sharper. Push harder now. It's hard. So think about you get all the way forward, and your whole body leaning forward to you, and keep your elbows long.
Describe the ring, that ring will be yours. Someone lost the ring. This officer found the ring on the ground. If you lost the ring, please come to this officer. You must describe that ring to us. Raise your hand, sir. Raise your hand. That's it. You found it. Thank you.
Oh, you got to breathe. You got to breathe. Over the floor.
All right, do it again.
Wait a minute, I did it. You hear a click?
I did.